What's up YouTube? Today I'm back with a huge review for you guys. So today's video I'll be reviewing the Air Jordan 1 Retro High Flyknit in the Band or Bred colorway. These released on September 9th for a US retail price of $180 or a Canadian retail price of $240. So the official colorway for this shoe is black, white, and varsity red. Here in Canada, these were available at select boutiques as well as at House of Hoops locations across the country. Online at Nike.ca, there's actually still a full-size run of these still available. This sneaker is so significant for Jordan Brand because this is the first time they featured Nike Flyknit technology and covered the entire silhouette of an Air Jordan 1. As you can tell, the upper of this shoe is done in a combination of black and varsity red Flyknit. So taking a closer look at this toe box area, if you take a real close look, you can tell that there's this base layer of black Flyknit that's really tightly wound together, and overlaid on top of that is this varsity red Flyknit that is a bit more loosely wound, and you can see the black Flyknit coming out from underneath. I want to point out though that the transition from the red Flyknit to the black is pretty seamless, so you don't actually feel that transition when you run your fingers from one end to the other. As we move on to this midfoot area, you can see that it's basically the inverse of this toe box. So there's a base layer of red, and then there's this layer of black Flyknit that overlays on top of it. Moving on to this back ankle area and the back heel, this is done in varsity red Flyknit, but the knitting on this is much thicker and much more bumpy compared to the remainder of the shoe. A lot of the criticism of this shoe stems from this knit pattern on this back heel area. So I've heard jokes that this resembles grandma's sweater, and personally I feel like the shoe would have looked a bit better if they had kept this style of weave a bit more similar to the weave found on the toe box and the mid panel. Transitioning out of this chunky knit style is this ankle collar area that's done in a more thin or more finely weaved Flyknit in black. Accenting the Flyknit on this shoe is hits of varsity red leather. So you can find this in the Nike swoosh found on the mid panel on both sides of the shoe, as well as the Jordan Wings logo found just underneath the ankle collar area on the lateral side. I want to point out though that the color on the leather patches is a bit different than the color found on the Flyknit. So the Flyknit is a bit more vibrant and a bit more saturated, whereas the hits of leather is a bit more dull. So you can kind of tell a difference between the Flyknit to the leather, and this kind of makes it a little bit strange. So I would have preferred if they were able to keep the Flyknit and the leather a bit more similar to one another, but overall this is something that's really minor and doesn't really affect my overall opinion on the shoe. The laces on these are a waxed cotton lace done in black, and this adds a nice luxurious touch to the shoe. The tongue is constructed using black Flyknit in a style that's very similar to the Flyknit found on the Roshi 2. So you have this horizontal ribbing running across the width of the tongue, and this is very stretchy and very flexible. At the very top of the tongue we have this Nike Air branding done in varsity red on this black leather patch, and then flipping it over to the back we have this spool of yarn and 1985 done in gold, and of course 1985 represents the year that the original Air Jordan 1 was first released. The interior of the shoe is also lined in leather, and it has this branding on the medial side in gold, which has your size, and then of course 1985 2017 XC. These also feature this removable insole that's lined in black leather, and it has Nike Air debossed in the heel. I did want to point out though that these insoles are noticeably thicker and more cushioned than the typical insole found on your Jordan 1s. The upper of this Flyknit Jordan 1 sits atop your classic Jordan 1 midsole done in white, and then flipping it over to the back we just have your standard Jordan 1 outsole done in red rubber, featuring this Nike branding in the middle. In terms of sizing, I feel like the Jordan 1s run a half size big, so I definitely recommend going down a half size. So my normal Jordan 1 size is a 10.5, which is what I consider my true size. These ones I tried on both a 10 and a 10.5. The 10 definitely fit me better. Because this shoe is nowhere near as padded as your normal OG Jordan 1, there is more room overall for your feet, and I find that the Flyknit material is more flexible and a bit more stretchy than the leather found on the normal Jordans, and this helps to accommodate the width of your foot. Comfort wise, this is where I have to give points to this shoe. Comparing this to your normal Jordan 1, these are definitely more comfortable. So we have this thicker insole, which is more plush, and then the Flyknit upper, which is more breathable and more flexible. This just feels very, very good on feet. Here in my hands I have both the Flyknit version and the OG version, and putting them side by side you can see that the silhouettes on both is relatively the same, but these Flyknit versions are noticeably lighter compared to these. Take a look at the back, you can tell that the Flyknit version isn't quite as bulky because it doesn't have the same amount of padding that the OG does. Comparing the toe boxes of the two, we have of course Flyknit on the Flyknit version and leather on the OG version. And I want to point out that the color of the leather on the OGs is a bit more dull compared to the color of the Flyknit on the Flyknit version. The laces on the OGs are just your normal cotton laces, whereas the laces on the Flyknit are waxed. The tongue itself on the OGs is done in this black nylon material with this nylon tag on the top that reads Nike Air. And then on the Flyknit version, the tongue is done in Flyknit with a black leather patch on the top. Another major difference between the two is the insole. So we have this white insole on the OGs, and then we have this black leather insole on the Flyknit. And then comparing them side by side in terms of the thickness, you can see that the insole on the Flyknit version is much thicker compared to the insole on the OGs. So now I'll give you guys a look at how these Flyknit Jordan 1s look on feet. So what are my overall thoughts on this shoe? I feel like this shoe is a very polarizing sneaker. There's a lot of love, a lot of hate in the sneaker community because anytime you make such a major change to such an iconic sneaker like the Bred 1, there's going to be a lot of opinions. In my opinion, there's both good and there's both bad. So in terms of the good, I feel like they've definitely improved on the comfort. So the insole is much thicker. We have supposedly Zoom Air on the heel, and then we have this Flyknit upper that is both lightweight and very breathable. Also, they've added some premium touches such as the wax laces, along with the interior leather liner. However, there's definitely some room for improvement aesthetically speaking. So I wasn't crazy about this chunky knit pattern on the back, and I feel like the shoe may have looked better if this Wings logo was done in black, or if the Nike swoosh was done in Flyknit entirely. So let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think of these Flyknit Jordan 1s? Is this something you picked up? Are you feeling this Flyknit Jordan 1 mashup, or do you find that the Jordan 1 should be unchanged and kept in its OG form? If you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to give me that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button down below. And you can also find me on my Instagram and give me a follow there at SGO8. So until next time, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next review.